just as soon as I was aware, I found my way to the instrument, and then I couldn't leave. And at first it was absolutely awful because I used to just play clusters of notes, and I tried to like pick up on melodies, and sometimes I was successful, sometimes I wasn't. Sometimes I really just enjoyed the cluster of notes. And then finally my mother, after about a year, I think I was like 3.5 by this point, she was over the clusters of notes, and she wanted to hear some real music. So that's when I started studying. And then my parents emigrated in '94 because, I think my dad came in '94 and then we came in '95 because it was just a very unrestful time in Moscow because of perestroika and the political turmoils, and they felt like it wasn't safe really to raise a young family in that kind of environment. So my father actually, through fate, found a job in the States, a job recruiter actually, who found him work in the States. So we came to the States, but I actually ended up not playing for a whole year when we moved to the States, because even though there were things about the economy and things about the political state of Russia at the time that was unfavorable, there were certain perks like government-sponsored music schools. And that went right out the window as soon as we moved to the States, because there everything is expensive. Everything is like $70 an hour for a lesson. And we didn't have a piano, and so for a year my parents couldn't afford it, and I wasn't even sure that I wanted to continue doing it because it wasn't like, it's not like at 8 years old, it's not like, okay, so we gotta like start, and my parents weren't stage parents, so they didn't push me into it. Said, you want to do it, do it. You don't want to do it, don't do it. Right now we're kind of hoping you don't want to do it because we can't afford it. But it was about a year later or so that my mom got tickets to go see Yevgeny Kissin at Davies Symphony Hall in San Francisco. And I went to see him play, and he'd always been an idol of mine up until that point. And when I saw him play, I got I felt miserable. I felt so sad. I felt so jealous and yet overjoyed at being in this concert and so happy to see him in the flesh and excited. And yet I really felt really sad, like something was really missing. And I had felt it that whole entire year. At the very beginning, it was so amazing. Here I am in California, and what is happening? Of course, before I moved to California, I was pretty sure at 8 years old that I was moving to the jungle, that there were going to be snakes and birds and just all kinds of exotic creatures and palm trees everywhere and canopies, okay? So I was gonna live in a jungle, and then we came to California, and we came to California in suburbia. So it wasn't exactly the jungle, but it was still, everything was new, you're learning the language, it's a new school, it's a new everything. But I really felt something was missing. And it wasn't necessarily Russia, but I knew something was missing. And it hit home when I went to that concert at Davies. And then I just turned to my mom and I said, I have to do this. I want to be on stage just like him, and I want to play. And I miss it. Then the next day, we went to my dad's company picnic, and there was this really bad pianist playing the piano. But I was jealous of him too, because he got to play and he got to be with the instrument. But I certainly feel a huge kinship with Russian culture, because even though we moved to the States, my parents fostered and brought me up in, Russian traditions and Russian culture, and we always spoke Russian at home. And I read a lot of Dostoevsky growing up, and Tolstoy, and everybody. So, and clearly Russian music has always been a huge part of my repertoire, and even my, listening. So, and my teachers have, some of them have, like 3 of them have been either Russian or from the Russian school and everything. So I definitely feel a huge kinship with Russian music because it really hits home. It, hits my blood.